Okay, so now that winter has set in, we're actually going to do some baking. I'm going to do some of keto freezer meals, breakfast and lunch. Usually in the winter time, I do more crock pot uh, cooking for dinners because it's just easier and whenever it's cold outside to be able to get things together. And the by the time I get off of work, that dinner's already done. Now today, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do some chicken nuggets. This is all going to be keto. Okay, we're going to do some chicken nuggets. I'm also going to do some breakfast items like I do have a recipe for keto cinnamon muffins that I wanted to try out, as well as breakfast tacos or breakfast burritos. So here is what we're going to do with for the nuggets. I have some chicken nugget or chicken pieces of chicken breast actually draining. I did soak these in a brine for about an hour, just a little bit of salted water, and drained it. And I'm going to go ahead and put it into a bowl. Now for keto, what we're going to go ahead and do is a couple things that are keto friendly. Xanthium gum is 0 carbs. I'm pretty sure that there's a little bit of carbs in here. We don't want to overdo our carbs, and I am extreme keto, so that means I count total carbs and not just the net carbs. So we're going to go ahead and coat the chicken nuggets and a little bit of xanthium gum. And we're going to go ahead and shake that up. Make sure that it's absorbing all the moisture, making it gummy. Once you have it nice and coated, a very light coat here, nothing too spectacular. We're going to wash our hands, and we're going to get on the egg wash. Now the egg wash is going to be a little bit of like an egg, as well as maybe a tablespoon of water. And then I'm going to show you what we use for the coating. Okay, so now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to use pork rinds. Unflavored, just plain pork rinds. If you want to use the spicy kind, you can. I'm not that much of a spicy person, but this is actually perfect for keto. Whenever you grind this up into a powder, it becomes like breadcrumbs. Okay, just to let you know, this is usually how I do these because I do small batches. If you want to use a food processor, you can. The thing is that it's going to take a couple of times to do this, and it's very noisy, so I'm going to do this off camera, okay? Now that we have the pork rinds ground up, I'm going to take it look to see what they actually look like. It looks like breadcrumbs, but it's pork rinds, crumbly, and you can actually add spices to this now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some garlic powder, salt, onion powder, and some thyme. So to this, I'm going to add about 1 teaspoon of salt, a little bit more, teaspoon and a half. And we're going to do about a tablespoon each of garlic powder. And thyme. This is thyme that I grew in the garden, so it's in a whole baggie. And about a tablespoon or a teaspoon of onion powder. I like the garlic better. And I don't have that much onion left. I'll have to wait till next year whenever the onions pop up to be able to get more onion powder. I can buy it, but if I've got the seeds, then why? Okay, and then we just want to mix that in. It's all dry ingredients. And this is just going to be the coating. And now we're going to go ahead and do the egg wash. Two eggs. Let me get this down a little bit more. Go ahead and whip it up. And add about a tablespoon of water. Now on the new oven, we're actually going to bake this and then freeze it. Now it's interesting, my previous oven, it was so old, there was no preheat. The new one I am still working on getting used to, because you have a preheat before it'll beep at you and let you know that it's up to temperature. I'm not used to that. So I don't know how old that stove was, but whenever we bought this house in 2007, it was here. And I do believe it was old even then. Okay, this is where everything gets messy. We're going to use our hands. We're going to take the chicken that's already coated with the xanthan gum. We are going to go ahead and dip it in the egg wash. Coat it with breadcrumbs. And put it on the pan. Ooh, that's bright. Sorry. 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 You can do it one at a time, or you can do it in handfuls. I prefer handfuls. But basically, like that. You can also put these in the air fryer if you want. They'll crisp up just the same. So I know this is a little bit crowded, but it will fry up the same. I'm going to spray this with a little bit of oil and put it in the oven so it can actually cook up. This will be about 35 minutes to be able to actually put it in the oven at 350. Okay, now that we're waiting on the chicken nuggets to be done, we're going to go ahead and work on those breakfast muffins that I looked at. Okay, so now that we have our new mixer, I get to use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the cinnamon muffins. I'm going to go ahead and reference the author for this recipe. This is not my recipe. I'm just following her her recipe to be able to see how these react with my blood sugar. Okay, so the dough of the cupcakes require 1 cup of powdered sweetener, but I don't have any powdered. I can put this in a blender, but I just use my blender for the pork rinds, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this granulated. And this is the reason why I have the guard on here, because everything gets everywhere. Five tablespoons of butter. 5 tablespoons equals about 1/4 a cup plus a tablespoon. So we're going to go ahead and do it this way. One tablespoon of vanilla. Remember, I make my own. Oop. 2 eggs. Half a cup of, it says half and half, but I'm going to use what I have, which is the heavy whipping cream. And now we're going to go ahead and mix this up. Now this recipe calls for 1.5 cups of almond flour and one teaspoon of flax. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be tablespoons, so let's go ahead and get that going. So I have my flax. Where did I put it? There we go. And 1.5 cups of almond flour. That's about a cup and a half. That's kind of looking like a cake mix. Now while that is mixing, we're going to go ahead and add the spices and the baking powder and stuff that makes it rise. So we have 2 teaspoons of baking soda. One teaspoon of cinnamon. This is half a teaspoon of ginger, but I have fresh ginger that I grew in my garden. You use twice as much fresh as you do dried. So I have a whole tablespoon here that I'm going to add because I like ginger. A half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And something that wasn't in this recipe that I'm going to go ahead and add is about a half a teaspoon of cardamom. Because I do believe that cardamom actually goes well with these spices. Now that that's done, any of you noticed, I've gone ahead and sorted out my muffin tins. You can actually use regular muffin rings to be able to hold the muffin tin, so you don't have to actually have a muffin pan to be able to clean, because those things are a pain. There we go. Now that we have this all nice and mixed up, it almost looks like a thick cake batter, which muffins are supposed to be more dense anyway than regular cake. So what we're going to go ahead and do is fill up our cake tins and put them in the oven at 350 for about 20 minutes. And whenever we put those in, and these will be done, these need to cool off. These are the keto chicken nuggets. Once they cooled off, we can divide this up into, say, a couple of meals. Put them in the freezer, and that way all we have to do is microwave them. Okay, so I've already had and made, separated the chicken nuggets out. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 lunches here of about, let's say 12 of those nuggets each in each of these. I'm going to put these in the freezer, and we're going to go ahead and thaw them out and microwave them or whatnot for whenever I want chicken nuggets for lunch. Now, this is going to be a little unconventional. We are going to make our own tortillas, quote unquote tortillas, and we're going to add ham, mushrooms, and cheese. First things first, we're going to go ahead and prepare the stuffing, which is going to be the ham and the mushrooms. We're going to go ahead and cook those up till they're done. And then we're going to go ahead and whip up the batter for the crepes or tortillas. Now I did purchase a crepe pan to be able to see if I could, make crepes that way. But I was able to, but it was such a messy process that I probably wasted $30 purchasing it. And I'm also going to use some garlic paste that I made and some shallot paste that I made. Get some oil. This was the lard that we rendered from the pigs. I'm going to do about half of these. And then what you can do with the other half, if you're not using it right away, you can freeze this and use it in other recipes. Now this is where you're going to go ahead and add the garlic and the shallot. A couple of cloves worth. Anybody knows me, I grow most of my food. The shallots I've grown. The garlic I grow. Don't have any information on how to raise chickens. I would like to, but I'm kind of afraid. My neighbors, the house next door to me is a rental, and one of those neighbors actually had chickens at one point. They kept getting out and getting into my yard, and one day they just disappeared. I don't know if they were cold or if they were ran over or gotten by a hawk, because we do have a lot of buzzards around here. Okay, so one thing that Grandma got that is I'm very excited about is a crepe maker. Now, since Grandma can't have regular tortillas, we're going to go ahead and make our own with eggs and a little bit of cream. So let's go ahead and start that process. We're going to go ahead and start off with 5 eggs. About a tablespoon or 2 of heavy whipping cream. And we're going to whip it. Now this thing came with a actual customizable bowl that the crepe maker actually fits into. So you pour the solution into this bowl, and then you put the pan in upside down to be able to get this to adhere. Once this gets warm enough, we'll go ahead and start making crepes. And they actually work. They actually form pretty quickly. The only thing is that you most likely need to flip it, let it sit for a minute to be able to get the rest of the moisture out of the egg. They come off pretty. They're not. It's not completely easy, and this is not mess free for any. And it's definitely not mess free. But if you do it right, put this down, flip it, and then you have a crepe. And it's pretty thin too. See? And then we're going to do that about a dozen more times. Okay, so now that we have our crepes finished, you see how thin they are. You can go ahead and stuff these with the mushrooms and ham and add a little bit of cheese in the middle. Roll them up, put them in a casserole. You don't want to put too much in the middle. So whenever you get it out of the casserole, you don't want it to fall over everywhere. And if you have extras left, you can just put cheese in it and warm it up and have cheesy crepes, egg crepes, eggs and cheese. There you go. And here's the extras. So I ran out of the ham and mushrooms. We're just going to put cheese in it, put it in the casserole, along with the crepes that didn't make it. Usually what happens is that if I don't lift it and turn it over on time, the crepe will actually fall back into the pan, and I need to fish it out, and I'll just cook it on the pan to finish cooking it, and I'll put it into the cheese crepes just to be able to get rid of them. So this made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Each egg made 2. Okay, you have all these crepes. Whenever you warm everything up, you'll be able to take out and put one or two on a plate. Uh, Depending on how big your family is, this will actually probably give leftovers for 3 days in my family. I'm about the only one that eats breakfast, and that's more towards lunchtime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split these up and put them in the freezer. Now that I've split these up into meals, okay, I've got 4 of them. One, I'm just going to be the cheese ones. I'm going to leave on either side, but we're going to go ahead and add a cupcake or one of those cinnamon muffins that we made. And that's about good for breakfast. Do I want to add anything else? I may add something else like because most of my vegetables, I eat two meals a day. Breakfast, which has my major protein and fats in it, and then most of my carbs are at lunch, mainly in the form of vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, salad, celery, depending on what I'm wanting. Right now, I think that's just all. I'm going to go ahead and freeze for now. And if I wanted to add anything later during the week, I'll go ahead and add it. Now, these did come out a little bit greasy for me. I put these in the fridge to be able to solidify. But whenever I brought these out, the butter had actually gone through the paper. I am not thrilled with this recipe. I'm going to go ahead and work on it. The topping that is in the recipe is just butter, sweetener, and cinnamon. I'm going to treat these more like fat bombs than anything else because they're a little bit grainy. They're not cakey like a muffin should be. So we're going to go ahead and just treat these like fat bombs in the morning. And I've got a few here to be able to go through. So I'm good for about a month. Well, I didn't get through through everything that I wanted to do this weekend. But we've got a good start. We'll continue on to this little journey for a little while. Hopefully the rest of the month will be freezer meals. Because there is absolutely nothing growing outside and it is cold. Canning is, yes, it is an option, but not really at this time. If we do any type of canning, it'll be out of the freezer. We have a lot of deer and pork still, so we're going to go ahead and work on getting sausages done, and we will go ahead and film that whenever we are confident that we got everything down pat, because we're still learning this equipment. All right, you stay warm, and you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend.